back to you.
Absolutely. I mean, I think of the same thing. You know, I've coached football and baseball before, and sometimes the teams are good, sometimes they're not good. It depends on the talent that you have, and if you don't have a very talented team and you're losing a lot of games, like you can make a game plan to just lose respectably. Right. It's, was that me? Oh,
no, that's me. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No worries. Like you can make a game plan where it's like, I know we're not going to beat this other team, but if we at least score a couple touchdowns and only lose by 28 instead of 50, then you devise the game plan so you can maybe try to eke out a couple touchdowns. Whereas you can devise a game plan where maybe if it goes right, it might be close and there's a chance, a long shot that you might win. And I mean, the disparity is higher where if you follow that course, you could lose by 50. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of the same thing where it's like, well, we're going to keep plowing away. We're going to keep fighting, and we're not going to like look like we're surrendering. And we might even have a couple wins, some long shot wins. Like we sue the state of California and our church can stay open.
Right. Praise God.
But yeah, it's great. Absolutely. No one was happier for, MacArthur and those guys than me. I'm like, great. I wanted them to win. But the overall strategy otherwise is losing by 50, right. And it's like, it's not good. So I think AD is absolutely right that if the mindset is we lose, well, you're going to get what you're aiming for every time. Mm-hmm. Right. and so, as far as, my book goes, the goal that I'm after is, it's less on the corporate strategy or the group strategy, like the Benedict option necessarily, but it's more, digging in deeper on a sociological level of all the things that are wrong, all the ideas that are wrong, all the ways that we live that many, I mean, I look at it and I in mind when I'm writing it, I'm thinking about many of my Christian friends who go to, your big box evangelical church, and they haven't thought too deeply about really any of the things about how we live our life in year 2023, and they're certainly not like getting any teaching at these churches about the cultural changes that are occurring or anything or any of the political changes or any of that. Of course not. And so they're oblivious to the way things actually are. And one of the things that I think rattled some people out of their slumber over the last year is the trans stuff, the trans agenda, especially in the schools and all of the trans stuff that's been pushed, the bathrooms, all of that kind of stuff where, people started going to school board meetings and things like this. And people, shocked. They can't believe this is happening. It's like, well, something like this has been happening for the last 20 years in the schools. It's just reached a further inflection point now. But a lot of it is like they're oblivious to. They have no idea that things are this way. And they also have no idea about how the way things used to be. So before we went on air, we were talking about like patriarchy and right. Things like that, and it's shocking to me. I mean, maybe just because I'm an outlier, but because I have always had an interest in history. But all human societies, Christian or non-Christian, had a way of life where you had households, where you had a father leading a household and his wife submitting to him and his children submitting to him, and he's actively leading them. That's just built into how everybody everywhere lived, other than a couple random, tribes in Papua New Guinea or something where they have a matriarchy that some anthropologists can point to. But it's like 99.9% of all of human history is this way. And it's like, wow, it's almost like God built it that way. And so you begin, discussing this and seeing this and thinking about this, what this looks like, and the changes that occurred in the 20th century where, okay, we're not in this patriarchal society. Now we're in a society where mom and dad are both expected to have careers. And I mean, especially with the way the economic circumstances we're in now, even more so today, like you couldn't possibly get a house that you can buy unless you and your wife are both pulling in, close to six figures. Like it's an impossibility. And so, you that's the world we have now. And you tell people, well, there was another world that existed that wasn't like this at all, where a single man could provide for a household, right? And he didn't have to be, a nuclear engineer or a lawyer or somebody, very highly skilled and highly compensated. He could be a guy that worked in a factory. Work. Yeah. Right. You could be a truck driver, you could be whatever and be able to provide for a family. And, it's like, it blows people's minds like that. We had that existed. And so it's learning. I mean, the first step is like being aware that there was another way to live, and that's been stolen from you and taken away from you. And you should try to, cobble together, if you can, that life again, because it's good and it's the best way of life for you and for your wife, for your children. And of course, not everybody's in a position where they can do that. Not everybody is able to escape, what I call in the book, trash world, in the same way. But you have to do whatever it is you can. And so, I mean, it's so many of these things. I mean, I in the book, I have a chapter in there just about atomization and how I remember, during I don't know if we can use the word if this is on YouTube,
COVID.
That's right. during that time, I don't know what they allow anymore or whatever. But during that time, you saw that I think most people realized how alone they were and how few, friends, how limited social interaction that's real beyond, the workplace people have. I mean, most people's lives they wake up at 5 or 6 in the morning, go to their job, come back and, play video games or watch TV and then do the exact same thing all over again. And then maybe on the weekend, they'll hang out with a couple friends, and that's their life. That's all they have. They don't have any extended network of friendship or people that they know. They don't have 20 or 30 friends. And several people, and there's all these sociological studies that there's a significant percentage of people that have zero close friends at all in real life. All of their interaction is online. So you see, like during the lockdown, some people loved being locked down. They thought it was great because they can live their lives inside of a pod and feel totally fulfilled. But like that's the state of life for many, many people, especially young people today, is they're alone. They don't have anybody. They don't have anybody that loves them. They don't have anybody that they can love. Many of them don't have families in any real sense. And that's not by accident. It didn't just like shake out this way randomly. All of these things, all of these bonds that God created us to have been ripped away from us. And people who don't have those things, who don't have strong relationships, a local community, people nearby them that they know and love and care about, they're very easy to rule, right? They're very easy to manipulate. They're very easy to dominate. And it's like, wow, I wonder if that's, a design feature of the world that we live in. Of course it is, of course it is. So
join Douglas Wilson, Dr. Joseph Boot, Brian Sauvé, Eric Kahn, and myself on March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd for our 2024 conference. It's called Blueprints for Christendom 2.0. Our early bird pricing ends on Thursday, August 31st. So go and visit rightresponseconference.com to register today. We hope to see you at the conference in March.